Right. We're going to jump forward to Thursday's episode because, again, I did miss on Sunday, so I'm going to do a couple shows from last week that I was supposed to do on Sunday, and now, and then we'll catch up to Sunday shows, Mondays, and last night's show. And I might skip one show from Sunday. I'll let you know in just a second. But anyway, let's go on to Thursday's show, How to Get Away with Murder. Not How to Murder. Again, folks, take it easy. Take it easy. It's How to Get Away with Murder. Annalise Keating. Annalise Keating. What are you doing to me, babe? What are you doing to me, babe? Annalise had to make a very difficult decision. She was called in by her ex-lover's wife. Yes, that's right. Her ex-lover was a cheater, is a cheater, and was given a rough request that I can't tell you if I would actually follow through on. Naya, who's the woman that Annalise had called in, called Annalise in to ask her to help her out. Now, Naya is Nate's wife, and she is dying from cancer, which I think people knew about in season 1 too. I think that's what the whole thing was. I think there was a scene there where something like that happened in season 1. So it's not terribly new news. And Annalise and Nate did whatever and whatnot. And this was, I don't know if this was the first time that Annalise ever met Naya. I don't think so, because I think they knew each other from the past. But anyway, this was definitely the hardest time to meet Naya. And I really feel bad. The whole episode, Annalise was completely distracted. And she lost her first ever case. Now, this case was an interesting one because in real life, IRL, in real life, there was a case like this. I don't know if it was down south or in the Midwest, but there was a case like this where a whole bunch of girls, or actually just 2 girls, had brutally murdered, or at least brutally attacked another girl. Now, in real life, the 2 girls that committed this heinous crime said that a video game character, I'm on Twitch and I'm talking about a video game character. Ironic? Yes. Called Slender Man. I'm not going to get into any details about Slender Man, but told these girls to stab this girl repeatedly. And now, they're going to trial and like that. The case in the show, these girls were somewhat in a cult or something like that, in a unlawful type thing and whatnot, and these 2 girls that were supposed to be best friends, the bestest of friends, their dad even joked that they were going to marry each other one day because no guy would ever get in between them. Well, lo and behold, the best friend, one of the girls killed her best friend. And this one girl was trying to blame it on these 2 new girls that they met at school. However, the 2 new girls were saying, no, this girl did it on her own. She's the leader of our group. She's the worst. And this girl, her emotions or his type of behavior, whether she was a psychopath, a sociopath, that really resonated with a lot of the people in the group, in the Keating Five, as they've been so called. Laurel kind of felt for her, almost to a sense where she thought that she was innocent, and she she wasn't that much, or there's how do I put this? She wanted to believe everything that she was hearing, but there were just some things that weren't adding up. So Laurel was the one who happened to find everything in the first place. Long story short, a video was found where the girls were discussing it and everything like that, and the video was supposed to be squandered and was supposed to be Oh, iPandaFool. This is about how to get away with murder. This is TV talk. Welcome, iPandaFool. I'm talking about how to get away with murder. In case you didn't see it, here is the banner: how to get away with murder, not how to murder. So anyway, we're just discussing last week's episode. I do TV talks Sundays and Wednesdays nights. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. So anyway, I'm sorry. I keep getting off topic, but anyway. So this video gets leaked that is incriminating evidence. However, Annalise tried to pull it around. She tried to say that this girl was a follower, but unfortunately that did not move the jury, and the jury found the girl who was on trial guilty, and Annalise had lost her first trial. This resonated throughout the whole episode. She's starting to learn who she can trust, who she can't trust, especially out of the Keating Five because of everything that's been going on. Again, Asher is missing, but we do get to see kind of where he is. He's with his father. He's trying to get exonerated for something that went wrong with this blonde-haired girl.
I want to love you. Pretty young thing.
iPandaFool, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you so much. iPandaFool, welcome to the new nerd in town. Welcome. So we're talking about how to get away with murder. So Annalise is trying to get a feel for everything. Now, a very, very strange relationship that is coming together is that between Nate and Wes. And towards the end of the episode, Annalise does find Nate and Wes talking in the parking lot of the hospital while Annalise is on her, I believe, second visit with Naya, who is Nate's wife. So she's starting to suspect it. So this episode was really starting to show who does she trust, who does she not trust. Going on this whole trust issue theme of the episode, she does send. Oh my God, I had her name, and I completely forgot it again. And I don't want to say Jacqueline. I really don't want to say Jacqueline. Michaela. It's Michaela. Oh my God. That almost happened, folks. Anyway, she sends Michaela to the Overstory Arc suspects' houses, and that's Caleb and Catherine. They killed their parents and now are also being suspected of killing their nurse, or their maid, or their aunt. It was their aunt, killing their aunt. So she goes over there because now there's been leaked information that Caleb and Catherine, the adopted son and adopted daughter of these two people who were found tortured and murdered, and apparently they slept through the whole thing. I mean, how does anybody sleep? I know it's a huge mansion that they live in, and I don't live in a mansion. I mean, look at this room for weird sakes. This is not a mansion. If I were getting tortured, somebody in the other room will find me. But anyway, so now there's this whole new scandal coming out that this adopted son and adopted daughter are now in love with each other. What? So Annalise, throughout this whole trial, because something just tells her that she is not ready to deal with it, sends Michaela to go interview Caleb and Catherine separately to get a feel for them and see does do they actually have feelings for each other? Now, I gotta say, I gotta say, Caleb had everyone fooled. Catherine, not so much. Catherine dropped a huge bomb. She actually dropped the bomb that she has never, ever gotten down before. She still has her V card. That's like the PG way to say it, right? She still has her V card, which is fine. Which means that there is no possible relationship of that, of those two whatsoever. Do they love each other? Who knows? Who knows? But Michaela does start to develop feelings for Caleb, which Wes developed feelings for Rebecca in the first season. We all saw how that went. So now this is going to be a thing where they joke about it with Michaela that she's falling in love for one of the guys that they're defending. So this is what, this whole story arc again of people falling in love with the defendants is just ludicrous. But hey, it's working. Then we fast forward to 4 weeks at the end of the episode. We fast forward to 4 weeks. Now, Annalise is on the floor. Somebody called 911 because now the paramedics show up. And she's dying. We get it. She's dying. But the paramedics show up and we don't know who called them. Who called 911? I mean, you've got the prosecutor of the trial dead at the doorstep. And this is all in that same mansion that Caleb and Catherine live in / their parents were killed in. So, prosecutor is dead on the driveway. Annalise Keating is on the carpet. Now, she is trying to, they are trying to revive her. Everyone is there except for Asher. Now, Asher, again, man, in season 1, you weren't around, but they kept showing what you were doing. I kind of think that in this episode, in this season, the reason why you're not around, that's really starting to freak me out. Yeah, Panda. Yeah, it's called How to Get Away with Murder. That's the name of the show. It's not a game. No, it's not a game. It's the TV show, How to Get Away with Murder. So Asher has not been seen in any of these cutscenes so far that we see of 4 weeks in the future or 3 weeks in the future. So again, this makes me really, really suspicious about Asher's whereabouts. I tend to think that maybe Asher just gets fed up of being used by the prosecution so much that he goes to confront her. Annalise Keating maybe gets... yes, I do, Drew. Green screen behind me, got a light above me, got all my lights on in my apartment, and yeah, that's my green screen. So he's not around. Annalise Keating goes there because she knows he's going to confront her, confront the prosecutor of this whole thing, and then he leaves. And then I think the other people follow her, or at least Wes follows her. Then the rest of the 5 follow her. So then, like, it becomes this whole snowball thing. We do see that Wes picks up Laurel, Michaela, Wes, and the other Suave guy. He's the one that keeps telling them to keep calm, keep calm. Now, while they're in the police car, Michaela does get a phone call. She answers it. She tries to play it cool, calm, collected. Then at the very end of the episode, you see her go into an apartment building, go up to an apartment, open the door, and who is it? It's Caleb. Whew, Caleb. Caleb's the brother of the 2 people that were... So it's Caleb. So the guy that she had feelings for during that episode, she's now protecting... And he says these famous Oh, no, 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 man. No, iPanda. No, no, no. No, no. Not trying. Nope. No, no. No, 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 no. Not legitimate. Nope. 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 No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Nope. 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 Not letting anyone know how to get away with murder, man. If that's why you followed, this is not a lawyer 101 class, man. I'm sorry. But anyway, so yeah, she comes in and Caleb says these words: "Is she okay? Is she all right?" But does not say who she is. Then it goes end credits, and I like now we got to figure out who is she. Is it Catherine? Is it Annalise? Is it the prosecutor? Who is it? Who is the she? She. Three-lettered word. A little three-lettered word, and you just can't figure it out. You just can't figure it out. It eats you up inside, right? It just eats you up inside. Ugh. Woof. But anyway, so how to get away with murder? Again, I ask this question. I'll ask it every week. Where is Asher during this whole night? Now, in the first season, Asher was not with the people. Was not with the Keating Four, the Keating Four who killed Sam and knew about Rebecca and all this stuff. But they showed where he was. They showed that he was at the party, and that he was partying around and having a good time and all that kind of stuff. But in this season, Asher's not with them, and they haven't really shown him with anyone. Like, they haven't done a cut scene from the cut scene to that cut scene and up the cut scene and down the cut scene and all that other stuff. Whew. So yeah. And then Caleb, who are you concerned about? Now, we know that this whole thing started with the rumor that you loved your adopted sister, and he too was adopted, but both kids were adopted. But, you know, they're not blood related. I'm not saying that's a positive or a negative, but they're not blood related. Excuse me. But they are related lawfully because they were lawfully acquired by two parents whom now are dead and were tortured before killed. So it almost begs the question as to can a love triangle form with Michaela, Caleb, and Catherine? We don't know. And then it swings it back around to who is Caleb worried about? Is Caleb worried about Annalise? Did he shoot her? Now, I want to say right here, right now, at 8:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that I don't think Caleb shot Annalise or stabbed her or whatever had happened to her. I don't know if the paramedics said gunshot to the abdomen. But I want to say that that he didn't do it because they were still trying to take care of him, and Nate had to pick them up and drive Michaela to where Caleb was. So I think Caleb had always been there the whole time, and then she got a phone call from someone else, maybe from this this guy who's Rebecca's brother, who is seeing Michaela as well. So that makes it like a love, not a triangle, but like a love square, rectangle kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know. Geometry was not my best subject. But anyway, I don't know exactly what I don't know what this all means. What does it all mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? But I don't think Caleb shot or stabbed Annalise. Only because, and I say this only because it's just distance. I mean, it looked like it took Nate a while to drive Michaela and everyone over to where Caleb is. Now, was that Caleb who called Michaela while they were in the car? I don't know. I mean, she had to act calm on the phone, so I'm thinking that maybe she didn't, that wasn't him that called her. I'm thinking maybe that was this other guy that she's seeing who's also Rebecca's brother. I think that's what we've got going on here. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then in this future cutscene, where's Catherine in all of this? Now we've seen Annalise on the ground, and in the ambulance, but they already pronounced the prosecutor as DOA, dead on arrival. So where is Catherine? Where is Caleb's sister? Is that who Caleb is concerned about? I mean, he did kind of say that he loved her, but again, it comes back to that sibling thing. You would want to know where your sibling is and how your sibling is feeling, especially if something this major is going on, whether you have a hand in it or not. So we will, I guess we will see tomorrow night when it comes back on tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll get another piece of the puzzle. Again, Shonda Rhimes with this show, whew, you give us so much information, and then we sit there every single time someone says something or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's just like, what just happened? What? Wait. What? But you're like speaking in incomplete sentences just because you're trying to figure out what's going on at the same time you're trying to ask what's going on. Whew. Crazy stuff. How to Get Away with Murder. Crazy stuff. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Which brings me to believe that this season is going to be awesome. Which means that this show is going to probably live for a little while, unless it's got a finite future, which a lot of shows are written like that. Sons of Anarchy was written like that. Breaking Bad was written like that. Dexter should have been written like that. A lot of these shows are a lot of these dramatic shows that have a lot of twists and turns and questionable endings and sometimes even questionable content. A lot of these shows have a finite ending to which they're just like, you know what? After said number of seasons, that's it. We're done. We're hanging up the director's cap. We're shutting off the cameras, turning off the lights. No more action. We are done. We are absolutely done. And this is how it's going to end. And those shows are usually the ones that are wrapped up well. Other shows that are canceled too short, yeah, they don't really get wrapped up. You don't get, especially ones that have a couple seasons and then they're canceled or something like that. I.e., Hannibal. The creator and head writer Brian Fuller had a vision for like 5, 6, maybe even 7 seasons, but he got cut short on 3. Now, I didn't get to see the last season because I was just too disheartened to watch it. I didn't want to see something so fantastic as Hannibal end. But he was able to come out and make that ending work. and I can't wait to watch it. Once I kind of calm down and whatnot, I'll be able to sit down and watch it again. But again, a lot of these big dramatic shows with the twists and the turns and the surprise season finales and the surprise season premieres and you're sitting there like you want to throw something at your TV, but you don't want to break your TV because you want to see what happens next week. A lot of those shows have a finite ending, and they're not expected to run too long. Some of them have run long. And they just keep coming with more surprise guests coming in and more more big name actors or big name people coming in, and then all of a sudden they vanish either in the middle of a season or usually at the end of a season, but at the end everything gets tied together. And that, my friends, was the talk of How to Get Away with Murder. So we'll continue more about that on Sunday when we see what happens tomorrow night on Thursday. Our next show that we're going to go to is our Sunday night show. It's one of two that I talk about. I'm not going to talk about... Now, I didn't get to watch this past week's episode of Once Upon a Time, so no talk of Dark Swan or any of the dark things that any of her parents or anyone did. Again, Sunday was a really busy day, and these past couple days with my real job and stuff going on afterwards, time got away from me, and I completely forgot to watch Once Upon a Time. My bad. I'll talk about it in full. Hopefully on Sunday we could talk about the episode, do exactly what I did for Arrow, and talk about last week's episode tonight so that it's fresh in your mind as you watch the new premiere. But a Sunday show I did get to watch, and we will talk about tonight, because now we're back into this week's episode of The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead had its second episode after what I would consider a favorable season premiere. I was in favor of it. I was in favor of the season premiere because it filled in the blanks from the series, from the season finale of last season. It wasn't too over the top, which I know a lot of people want to see all the time. But this was a good season opener. And this season 2 episode was exactly the exhilaration and the excitement I think that some of the people thought that they were missing from the season premiere. The season premiere did have a lot of excitement. I'm not saying it wasn't exciting, but this episode 2 definitely had a very promising and a very what am I thinking? A very action sequency type episode. This episode, we got to kind of see. Obviously, the big question from the season premiere was answered in this episode, and that was, what was that horn? I mean, the end of the episode of episode 1, you heard a horn. And all this work of hoarding all of these walkers from the quarry to off to a far land and keep them going and stuff was sidelined because a horn went off, and the horn went off over at Alexandria. So now everyone's, it took a whole week to figure out what was with that horn. And what they did for the second episode of this season was they gave you exactly what was going on as everything from episode 1 was happening. So in episode 1, they filled you in on everything that happened between season 5's finale and this season premiere. And what they did was every scene in black and white was was every scene in black and white was a past scene. And I say past scene as it happened right after the events of season five's season finale. And then in the scenes that were done in color were what happening kind of in the present. So in the present, they had this whole operation of how to get all of these walkers out of the quarry into, and just have them keep walking, walking away from Alexandria so that they were safe, and they could live more and not try to survive more. Now, the black and white parts of the episode showed everything leading up to that event. Now, while all that was going on, while all the scenes in color in that episode were going on, we got to see in this episode 2, we got to see everything that was going on in Alexandria. So while Rick, Michonne, Daryl, Glenn, and Nick were all out, and those are just some of the characters, while they were all in the quarry trying to figure out how to get everything, get all the walkers out of the quarry, well, that was the time we got to go back to Alexandria now and got to see what Carol was doing, what Eugene was up to, got to see the father, got to see Carl, and yeah, you did get to see a lot of what was, you got to see what was going on in Alexandria. And I gotta say, Alexandria was not all quiet and peaches and cream. The townspeople, the mayor, she, after the events of what happened in the season 5 finale, she just witnessed her husband get killed, and then she told Rick to kill the guy who killed her husband. That seems fair, right? I mean, but what also seems fair is that she's a grieving widow now. So she's completely shaken. Her wonderful community has been somewhat of a lie. It's not been a safe haven. It's actually just been a place where people are just living. And that's what Rick was trying to tell these people, especially try to tell, trying to tell Morgan, this guy who Rick knew from, had to leave, helped, find his way, and then showed up at the season 5 finale. And you got to see more of the interaction between the two of them in the season 6 premiere. But in episode 2, you really got to see that the people of Alexandria were just floating by in their life. Even the bad things that were happening within their community that had nothing to do with walkers and nothing to do with the outside world. They were just living. They were just on a plateau of just nothing. A guy was Pete, who was Jesse's husband. Jessie was a woman that Rick was sort of infatuated with, but of course she was married to this guy Pete. Pete was beating on Jessie. That's not right. But people shied away from that. They shied away. They just kept living. As long as it didn't get out of hand in Alexandria, they kept living. And Pete was the doctor, so nobody would question him. As long as he showed up, he was fine. And as long as nobody really got sick or needed surgery, they were fine. But for the rest of the time, Pete just drank and beat his wife. And Rick killed Pete for that and for other reasons. But Pete also killed Reg, who was Mayor Deanna's husband. And Mayor Deanna, she's grieving. She's grieving from losing Reg, but she's also realizing that what she built was not as perfect as she thought it was. And Rick was the one who opened her eyes to that. So it's now up to the people in Rick's group to help them learn how to survive. And you really got to see the difference between the people in Rick's group and the people in Reg's group. The people in Reg and Deanna's group. So I was right on that one. And that is when the group called the Wolves attacked. Again, I don't know the Wolves that much. I'll throw up the spoiler alert. Oh, it's not spoiler. It's still in the spoiler alert. Still in the spoiler alert. But anyway, so for The Walking Dead, the Wolves attacked Alexandria while Rick and the aggressors of Rick's group were out there, trying to take care of the Walker problem in the quarry. And Carol was left. Morgan finally showed up, but you had Carol left. Father Gabriel was walking around, and Father Gabriel actually asked Carl, Rick's son, to help them out. And Carl said, yeah, I'll show you how to do a machete later, as he was walking Judith around. I'll let everyone know you can unmute now. It's okay. It's okay. You can unmute now. Carl really stepped up here. Now, Carl's been infatuated with this girl, Enid, who was also an outsider. She was considered an outsider girl because she just showed up to Alexandria all by herself. And at the beginning of this episode, of episode 2 of season 6, you saw what had happened, how Enid came to be in Alexandria, and how she became so closed off, and she was different from the rest of the what am I thinking of? She became so different from the rest of the inhabitants of Alexandria. Inhabitants, that's what I was thinking of. So yeah, she was quiet. She was an outsider, and that's how Carl was able to help relate with her. But she watched her parents die in front of her from a Walker attack, and she had to live on her own. And she kept writing JSS all over the place. I hope I know what that means. I don't know if maybe I missed it. I was kind of in and out watching this week's episode, but the major thing that happened this week was, of course, the wolf attack, the Wolves group attack on Alexandria. And you really, I know I said last week that I didn't see Carol a lot in episode 1's episode, but you find out why, because lo and behold, she's there now. And she actually stayed back in Alexandria, and boy, did she step up her game. I mean, wow. Now, Carol keeps wanting to go back and forth with whether or not she wants to be a killer, or whether or not she wants to be a Susie Homebaker. But she really showed that she can stand her own. And she shows that she can live the life of an Alexandria citizen, but she's also part of Rick's group. She knows how to survive when need to, but at the same time, she knows how to live. And I think people are going to start resonating with her because she knows how to separate each one. Whereas Rick is one extreme of being a survivor, and Deanna and everybody in Alexandria are just completely whatchamacallit? What am I thinking of here? They're just completely oblivious to the outside world and how to live in this new apocalyptic, walker-infested world. So, I mean, yeah. So, this is what we're dealing with in The Walking Dead, and Carol did get to step up, and Morgan, who broke off from the group, we saw in episode 1, Morgan broke off to go investigate what that horn was, and we found out that the horn was just a piece of the puzzle of what had happened in Alexandria, and I'm sure in episode 3 we're going to see the fallout from both the walkers being distracted and now are headed towards Alexandria, and Rick figuring out, because you know Rick's gonna come in and be like, well, what happened? What happened, man? What happened? And they're gonna talk about it and say, well, if this wasn't fortified and this, and this, and I didn't notice this until I was actually writing up my notes for The Walking Dead, but this guy realized that one of the Alexandria citizens had sort of started to step up. He was one of the guys that was considered as a scout to the Alexandria, so they were the ones that were bringing people in, and he I mean, I completely forgot about this. I'm sure more. I'm sure other Walking Dead fans either. Excuse me. Other Walking Dead fans probably missed this too, but because it probably happened somewhere in season 5, and it was such a minute detail. But this just tells you to pay attention to every little detail, including ones in trailers like The Force Awakens, because something was there. You like that? That was like my Kylo Ren impression. That was pretty cool, right? That was pretty cool. Come on, you have to admit that was pretty cool. But anyway, one of the citizens noticed that one of the wolves had a bag, and the bag had these pictures of Alexandria. Now, the way this guy's eyes looked as he was looking through the pictures, he realized that the pictures were his and that he had left them, and the wolves had found it, and the wolves had found Alexandria. So that's how they attacked. That's how they knew where to attack and what to attack and what they were attacking. Little did they know that Alexandria also has an armory, which Carol, again, stepped up and she showed that survivor attitude that Rick really wants to see in people when the time is right. And again, she was getting used to the quiet life that Alexandria was offering to Rick and his group. But Rick knew more, and Rick wanted people to know that that you just need to survive. You need to be more fortified than this. You can't just live. You need to be able to fight. Not to be offensive, but to be more defensive. So stuff like this, stuff like the attack on from the wolves, does not keep happening. And when it does happen, you don't lose from it. So that's where this episode of The Walking Dead. And Morgan comes back. Morgan saves Father Gabriel because we all know Father Gabriel is helpless and hopeless, and he's done unspeakable things, but does not know how to defend himself in the least. And Morgan then has a showdown with a couple of the wolves by himself. And yes, you know that he can hold his own because he's been doing so for a while. There were a couple episodes there was an episode or two in season 5 maybe it was just the season finale, but there were maybe the episode beforehand too, where you saw Morgan holding his own against these wolves. So you know that he can hold his own, but you also know that he's dealt with these people before, and he knows how primitive they are and how stupid they are when it comes to attacking them and other people. When it comes to attacking, and it comes to the way they attack and the way they are, because yeah, the way they are is very primitive. Although their trap was very clever. So, so the wolves do know how to attack. And also how to defend themselves, but also how to set a trap, and also how to fool those that they think they can fool. This upcoming week's episode, again, I'm sure we're going to see the fallout from the attack, and also see Rick get upset about the truck, and basically blame it on the fact that most of the citizens of Alexandria are just not ready for the outside world, and that they've gotten too complacent in their life as citizens of Alexandria. So that was this week's episode of The Walking Dead. Great episode. Again, there was action. There was a lot of action. There was actually, I think, more action than there was in the season premiere. But again, the season premiere was not low on action. It was just more of a storytelling thing, with going in the past and coming back to the present. And this was just showing exactly what was going on at the same time. So it was kind of just like a parallel kind of thing. So while Rick was getting everyone ready for the quarry, Carol and everyone were defending Alexandria from this surprise wolves attack, and they did well. Mostly Carol and mostly Morgan, but I want to give props out to Denise. She became the new doctor after Pete was killed by Rick. A little unsure of herself, but that's because she only went to med school and she became a psychologist, which some people will argue is not a real doctor. But for the sake of the show, she was close enough to a doctor. She tried her best trying to save someone. It didn't really work out too well, but, little confidence does go a long way. And then Eugene, I think he found, Eugene was seemed kind of infatuated by her. Maybe that's where he'll start to spend his time, so that he doesn't keep freaking out Tara, because he's following Tara around like a little like a child almost. You're sitting there like, ugh, like he's following her around. It was just weird.